Okay, let's talk about lateral movement and cutting off the ring. And yes, this video is inspired by the fatal fiasco fights that we suffered through on Friday night, Saturday afternoon, and Saturday evening. Okay, so we will break down how a boxer should move laterally and then how the other boxer should cut off the ring. So by lateral movement, that's literally moving side to side. So in order to talk about both the lateral movement and cutting off the ring, I'm going to refer to what we call the clock system. So imagine that you're standing in the middle of an analog clock. I know that might be tough for some Gen Alphas, Gen Zers, but hopefully you've seen an analog clock, even if you can't tell time with an analog clock. All right, so you're standing in the middle of the clock. Straight ahead of you is 12. Right behind you, out of eyesight, is the number 6. To your left is the number 9, and to your right is number 3, right? Okay, so hopefully you can visualize that. So now the lateral movement is either to 9 o'clock or to 3 o'clock. And if you notice in Devin Haney's fight, he moved mostly to his 3 o'clock, which is to his right side, because he's fighting out of, he's fighting out of orthodox stance, and that's a little bit easier for him. Or it's a little bit easier to move to 3 o'clock if you're in a right-handed fighting stance. And that's because your rear leg, which is your right leg, is behind you. So to move to your right, you need to move your right foot first, and then your left foot follows. If you're going to move to your left, your front foot leads, and your rear foot follows. So Devin Haney's problem was when he's moving to his right, he was okay. But when he decided to move to his left, he could only take a few steps because he has a habit of crossing his feet when he moves to the left. That is a big flaw, and it should have been addressed when he was an amateur fighter. Nevertheless, I would say to be a competent amateur fighter, you need to know how to use lateral movement. And you also must not ever cross your feet. Second cardinal sin for lateral movement, and this is not just for boxing, this is for all combat sport, including wrestling or judo. Do not cross your feet and do not bring your feet together. You never want to smack your ankles together when you're trying to move side to side. Now, the reason for that is because it's the same reason for both not crossing your feet and not bringing your ankles together. It's because you have no balance in both of those cases. Your balance, even if it's only for a moment, your balance is compromised. And in that moment, particularly in a sport like judo or wrestling, you could get upended by your opponent simply by getting what we call foot swept. If you're crossing your feet or bringing your feet together in boxing, you're off balance and you cannot throw a punch when you're in that position. You're also liable to get potentially knocked down if you get hit right at that moment when you cross your feet or bring your feet exactly together. Okay, so as tedious as it might sound, all fighters need to practice that sidestep. You need to drill it. It should be really just part of your warm-ups. But certainly for beginners, you're going to have to drill this. So the key thing here is you have to do this repeatedly because you want to have this just be automatic. You want it to feel fluid and smooth. And you don't want to make those fatal errors I just described, but you also have to start to figure out your own rhythm and how wide apart your feet should be with every step. Now, take a look at how Skoll used his lateral movement. He was able to vary his lateral movement steps. He was able to vary the pace, the timing, the size of the step that he takes, because he's an advanced person, he's at the advanced level of lateral movement. He's beyond competent. He's really an expert. Now, that said, I would say in order to graduate from the amateur ranks, a fighter must be able to move to both 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock smoothly without crossing their feet, without smacking their ankles together. Same thing with MMA fighters. I noticed that Ian Gary has the flaw of smacking his ankles together, which also makes me highly suspicious that he's actually reprimanded right away, your very first practice, because that's part of the warm-ups, doing the lateral movement in both directions. As soon as anybody sees it, it won't even be the head sensei. It'll be just another student on the mat. They'll say, hey, you don't want to touch your ankles together when we do this drill. Try to keep your feet apart at all times. All right, now another part of good lateral movement is. Okay, so those are the main criteria for being competent at lateral movement. You must be able to move to both 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock. You must not cross your feet. You must not smack your ankles together. You must have good foot spacing, and you must be on the balls of your feet. If you're able to add rhythm changes and tempo changes and even angle changes, then you become beyond competent and you're more advanced. All right, so let's move on to cutting off the ring. Now, in my opinion, this is a more advanced skill, and yet it's something that you need to become competent at as an amateur. Because in the amateur ranks, even more so than the pro ranks, you're going to find fighters who like to just whiz around the ring, moving sideways. And the reason for that is because amateurs have 3-minute rounds. Some fighters know that if they get up for the first 2, they can literally just run around for the 3rd round and just go for the decision. They're not the type of fighter that wants to eke out or wants to get a KO. They just want to win on points, and they're happy with that. So that's a tactic, that's a strategy, that's a personality type. And we have to accept that that's going to happen in a fight, whether it's amateur or pro. There's no rule against constant lateral movement. Fight fans, we may not like that, but it's not actually against the rule. And it's not actually the ref's job to tell another fighter to stop running. It's really not the other fighter's prerogative to tell the ref, hey, he's running or she's running for me, tell him to stop running. No, it's your job as the other fighter to make them stop running. That's the whole point here of what we call being able to cut off the ring. All right, so let's go back to our clock system again. In order to cut off the ring, you cannot move in parallel with that other person who's either going to 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock. You actually have to start cutting at angles, meaning you've got to go to either 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock, or somewhere in between, say 1:30 and 9:30 or 10:30, right around there. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you that moving to 10 or 2 o'clock is it's a little more advanced because, or it is more advanced than moving laterally, because it's a little more uncomfortable, to be quite honest. I feel that naturally we're inclined to move to 12 o'clock, meaning when we're fighting, we want to come straight at our target, right? So we're happy going to 12 o'clock. We should not move back in a straight line, as Sensei Benny the Jet always says, never move back in a straight line. But it is almost human instinct to right off the bat just move straight back in a straight line to 6 o'clock. Now, the first thing somebody will do when they try to deal with someone who's, as we say, running, moving laterally, is they will start to move in parallel with them. So they will start going to either 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, depending which way their opponent's going. But the problem with just going in parallel with that person is you never really are able to stop them. You're just expending your own energy pursuing them, and that's kind of what they want you to do, is waste your energy. Okay, so once you realize that you don't want to be going to your 9 o'clock and your 3 o'clock and just move in parallel with your opponent, which way do you need to move towards 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock, depending on which way they're moving. If they're moving to your left, you've got to cut in at 10 o'clock to cut them off. If they're moving to your right, you've got to cut in at 2 o'clock to cut. That's what they mean by cutting off the ring. You're not allowing them to continue to move to either their 9 or their 3 o'clock. So this takes a little bit of adaptability on your part, because if you're a right-handed stance, when you step to 10 o'clock, that'll be kind of natural. However, when you start to move to your 2 o'clock, you're going to switch stances into southpaw stance, at least for a moment, and vice versa. If you're in southpaw stance and you have to cut somebody off to the opposite side, you're going to have to cut over to 10 o'clock, which means you're going to be in right-handed stance for a moment, at least. All right, so once you do that, okay, let me backtrack. So the first time you try these, what we also call, some people call them a V-step. First time you do that, it may not work. They may anticipate you stepping that way and then cut back the other way. So now you're sort of behind a step or two and you have to play catch up. That's okay, that's going to happen. This is all part of you learning the skill of cutting off the ring. It's not going to work the first time, the second time. It may not even work the third time, but eventually, if you stay on top of them, this will work. So now once you've cut off by either cutting to 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock, the next thing is you have to throw a hard body shot, maybe even throw that shot as you're stepping in if you've got the timing and the distance down. You have to throw that hard body shot because you want to literally stop them in their tracks. After you stop them with that body shot, you got to come back with a big, hard head shot. So if you are moving to 10 o'clock and you're cutting them off to your left, you're going to come in with the left body shot and a right head shot. If you are stepping to 2 o'clock, because they're moving to your right, you're going to throw a right to the body and a left to the head. Hope this makes sense. You definitely want to go after the body first and the head second. But the body shot is the key. If you happen to miss with a headshot, it's not a problem. I mean, but hey, maybe you can even drop them with that body shot. But regardless, the body shot is the essential thing. All right, so if you're going to 10 o'clock, it's a left shot. If you're going to the 2 o'clock, it's a right shot. I hope that kind of makes sense. All right, so now here's the main thing though with cutting off the ring is it's not a skill that's learned easily. It's not going to work the first time. The second time, maybe not even the fifth time in an actual fight. But you do need to practice it by drilling. You need to practice it in live sparring, maybe initially with a partner who's just cooperating with you a little bit so you can get the drill down. And then you need to practice it drilling with them. And when they give you a little more evasiveness and they're trying to outrun you, so you have to pick up the speed, pick up the pace. Another aspect of cutting off the ring that Canelo didn't show us was this. In order to cut off the ring, you have to trick your opponent. You have to vary the pace and the spacing of your feet. You have to vary the timing of your steps. You basically have to outdeke your opponent because as you cut to one side, they're going to cut out to the other. So sometimes you got to fake like you're going in one direction and cut back in the other direction on them. So you have to be the one that outsmarts the person that's running away from you. It's a little bit of a mind game, right? It's a bit of a chess match, but you can't just be satisfied to maintain the same pace with your steps and follow them around the ring because that's not going to help you cut them off. All right, so the key points for cutting off the ring, you have to be able to step to 10 or 2. You have to come with a body shot and then a head shot, depending on which side you're going to. And you have to be willing to fail more than once. You got to just bite down on your mouthpiece and repeat to yourself what the famous Joe Louis saying, which is, you can run, but you can't hide. You got to let that person know you're coming for their, you know what I mean? You got to let them know that. You got to project that attitude. Like, I don't care. You want to run? I'm coming for you. I'm going to get you. And you got to project that. That in and of itself will send a message to them. You know, they'll be able to send. All right, so please let me know your thoughts on skillful lateral movement and the art of cutting off the ring. I look forward to reading your comments below. Thanks for listening.